There are 3 pillars to unlocking impromptu speaking. Are you ready? Speaking on the spot, also known as impromptu speaking. Yes, many are terrible at this. What do I do when I'm called to speak on the spot and I have no preparation? Maybe this could be at an interview. They hit you with an interview question. Maybe it could be at a board of directors. Maybe you're on a panel discussion on the stage and you're an expert of some sort and people are hitting you with Q&As that you are not familiar with. So we're going to delve right into some techniques on how to manage your next impromptu speaking. Allow me to demonstrate. Any topic to talk about? Would you'd like me to talk about impromptu?
Spring water.
Spring water. I'm glad that you asked me about spring water. I'm going to explain to you why you should never drink spring water again. The reason you should not drink spring water can be broken down into 3 points. The first of which is that it is hyper-processed and put in a plastic bottle. Mind you, that plastic bottle might very well be leaching particulates into your water. And then that goes into your body. And it might not come out. The second reason you should never drink spring water again is because it is basically a fancy term that means full of fish pee. That's all that it means. Have you been to a spring? Have you been to the Clark Creek Greenway? That is a spring. And what is that spring full of? Fish pee. Its pH is off balance due to that fish pee. So in addition to the plastic and the fish pee, you are in for a wild time. And third, as an alternative, maybe you can opt in for a water cooler in your home, a Brita or a Primo. You can refill it at Walmart and you can put it in a glass or metal container. That will mitigate all of the risks that I mentioned in points 1 and 2. Ladies and gentlemen, do not drink spring water. Hashtag cancel Dasani. Thank you. I was not prepared to talk about spring water. We're going to get you to this level of confidence. Now, I was not winging it. This is a very important point. Oh, Muhammad's been on the stage for X amount of years. He's good at just winging it. It's not winging it. Simple frameworks to organize your thoughts quickly. So when you're on the spot, the human brain works very, very, very fast. So I'm going to train you all on how to pick apart from the depths of your mind all these rampant pieces of information and structure them. So you can talk about anything. There are 3 pillars to unlocking impromptu speaking. Are you ready? The first one is end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. No matter what somebody asks you, no matter what type of pressure you're put on to speak impromptu, begin with end in mind. What does this mean? One key message. What is the one takeaway that I want them to get from my answer? It doesn't matter what question they ask me, one key takeaway. What was my one key takeaway? Don't ever drink spring water. Blech. It's disgusting. And I came up with it very quickly. That is the power of the human gut. We instinctually know the answer. So be confident in that one strong message. What feeling do I want them to feel when I answer this question? What strong piece of information or what point or what decision do I want them to make? One key message. The second pillar is the rule of 3. The human brain processes information in 3s. This is the best way. It's proven time and time again. If you don't believe me, let me show you. If you're telling a speech, you are effectively telling a story. Any awesome story, from The Hobbit to Harry Potter, even some of the prophetic stories that we read in Scripture, they're comprised of 3 pillars, which are the challenge, the struggle to fight against that challenge, and the victory. 1, 2, 3. Intuitively makes perfect sense. If you're giving a sales pitch, then your goal is to persuade. And how do I persuade people? Well, one way I can do this is to tell them, how have things been handled in the past? Now, this is the old way of doing things. We've been doing this for the past 100 years. But today, we have laptops and computers, which are connecting our world in a new digital fashion like never before. But what does the future look like? Bitcoin. I don't know. I could pitch whatever I want as the future. Past, present, future. That is effectively what you are doing when you are pitching. And if you are giving a presentation, as per our first lesson, there's a problem, there's a solution, and there's an action. By first picking a big idea to be the center of our response, then we're going to pick 3 main points. The rule of 3. My big message was, do not ever drink spring water again. It's disgusting. What were my 3 main points? The first one was that it's hyper-processed and put in a plastic bottle. The second one is that it has fish pee in it. And the third one is that there are healthier alternatives. Finally, you're going to connect the dots. And what connect the dots means is, okay, you've picked the big takeaway that you want your audience to have, and you've founded that argument or that response on 3 points. Connecting the dots means to flow effortlessly from each of these main points. And that is the skill that you're going to be practicing over and over and over again. It's not BSing it. It's not winging it. It's connecting the dots. So your 3 points have to be relevant to each other, such that there's a logical flow. You picked your main takeaway. You picked 3 solid main points. Now you're going to connect all the dots and glue it together by telling a story. That story is the glue that brings it all together. All right, are you ready? Here is a common question that you get in almost any interview for any position. Hey, can you tell me about a time when you failed? How did you handle it? This is a question you're all going to get in your lifetime. How do you answer this question? Well, I failed many times in the past. I thought I could just get away with babbling and just talking about whatever. Oh, I failed and it was hard. And at the end of the day, we're singing Kumbayas. Hire me, please. It didn't make any sense. That's how we're going to do it. My main takeaway, I would search the vast confines of my brain and I would come up with the point. Failure is not the end. It's not the end for me. That's my main takeaway. And you have to be trying this over and over and over again for you to get good at finding this main takeaway. In this case, my main takeaway could be failure is not the end for me. It's an opportunity to learn, adapt, and grow. Those are my 3 points. The rule of 3. The time that I experienced failure and how I overcame it. That's a great question. I'd like to start by saying that failure is not the end for me. It's not the end for me. It's a chance for me to learn, to adapt, and ultimately to grow. One example I can give of this is a time when I failed in my early career. I was a sales manager, and the failure was that I disregarded the feedback of my team member. She was really upset and hurt by the way I just brushed her comments aside and proceeded to do what I wanted. And she ended up leaving our team. For 6 months, she left our team, which meant that the rest of our team members had to pick up her work. So I had to adapt very quickly. And I learned, if I don't watch how I speak to people, they will leave my presence. And ultimately, it's going to be more difficult for not just myself, but my entire team. So I had to adapt. I asked my boss for advice. I asked my team members for advice. And they told me next time to try to be a little bit more conducive. Try to give a little bit of positive reinforcement to everyone on your team. Complement their strong points. And where they're weak, let someone else compensate for that weakness. Don't bring it to their face. So how was I able to grow from this? Well, the next team member that filled in her vacancy, this young lady was especially great at making everyone feel like a valued member of the team. So I constantly gratified her by feeding into this. You have a real skill with people. You're really able to open them up and make everyone feel like they're happy to be here. And the more I nurtured that good aspect of her, the more she performed. And it showed as a direct impact of our Q3 statement. We sold more than ever in that quarter because everyone felt like they were unified through this person. In conclusion, failure is not the end for me. And by learning how to harness the superpower that everyone is born with, I was able to build a greater team as a sales manager. And that's why you should hire me for this position. Mic drop. Oh my God, hire him right away. That's what we want to get you to. Did I do a good job? The question was, tell me about a time that you experienced failure. How did you overcome it? Your first instinct is going to be, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I have to answer this question. I didn't prepare for it. Chill. What I did was I repeated the question twice and I paced for about 5 to 6 seconds. That gives me enough time to compose myself and reach into the ether, reach into the cloud and pick out my main point. My main point is failure is not the end for me. Ooh, I like that. That sounds great, Muhammad. What are my 3 supporting points? It's an opportunity for me to learn, to adapt, and to grow. Perfect. So I have the one main message and I have the 3 supporting topics. Now it's time to connect the dots. And there is some improvising. I improvised. See, connecting the dots in action. There has to be a logical flow between those points. I hope I've demonstrated that. I mentioned that you want to take 6 to 10 seconds. Maybe you could say something along the lines of, that's an excellent question. Can you give me a moment to think about that? An excellent way to get away with this is to have a notepad. I could draft out what I'm going to say. That would give me more time. And you can pace around. People are generally going to give you that time if you ask for it, the way I just did. My role here is to help you embrace that uncomfortable situation and formulate a response.